I'm joined by our correspondents in Moscow and London. Ollie Barrett in London, Julia Chapman in Moscow. Good day to both of you. Ollie, I'm going to start with you. Just regarding the death numbers, it seems to be a difficult one to count because Johns Hopkins is saying 35,000 deaths. A Reuters tally is saying 43,000 dead. What's the truth?
Well, the UK government figures, which are released each day, and we get a daily tally for the fatalities from the 24-hour period before, come out of UK hospitals. They are people who have died in hospitals confirmed to have had COVID-19. Now, that number today we've just had confirmed by the Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden in the daily briefing, 35,704 according to the UK government. Now, there is a separate official UK tally as well, which comes from the Office for National Statistics, which is slightly more complicated and has a bit of a lag to it, but starts to include some of the deaths that don't get registered in all settings. Now, the main UK number is starting to include all settings, but as I say, that is with a bit of a lag on the ONS numbers, which come later on and include some deaths that haven't quite yet been picked up. So what Reuters is doing is effectively combining those various totals and coming up with an estimate as to what it believes the current confirmed death toll in the UK is. Still slightly difficult to put all of that together and come to a realistic number, but that's why we have that discrepancy.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the contact tracing that Boris Johnson is talking about. He wants to get it up and running, 25,000 people. Is this using telephone technology, or is it just about mostly finding and tracing people who've been in contact with others who've had the virus?
Well, there is an app which is in trial at the moment. It's been trialled on the Isle of Wight, an island to the south of the south coast of England. That is going to be rolled out for trials in the wider population, and certainly the government hopes that that is going to be part of it. But what Boris Johnson is talking about with those 25,000 tracers, they are actual people who will use their skills and data to try and track down anyone who's been in contact with a confirmed COVID-19 case. Now, crucially, Boris Johnson giving us that number of 25,000 of them hired and ready to go by the beginning of June. He says that those 25,000 people will be able to track everyone who's been in contact with 10,000 confirmed UK cases per day, if that were the number that was required. But he also points out that at the moment we're a little over 2,000 confirmed cases in the UK per day, and that number is coming down at the moment on a daily basis if you look at the trend. So Boris Johnson painting a picture, if this gets up and running in the way that he says it can do, of a number of human contact tracers who can be well on top of the kind of size of outbreak there currently is in the UK.
Now, Julia, I would like to bring you in here. In Moscow, the infection rate has spiraled really quite alarmingly. There are these social media pleas from medical personnel. I'm wondering how the hospitals are coping.
Well, it depends where you look. Here in Moscow, which has been the worst affected city in Russia, accounting for around half of the overall number of cases, the mayor of Moscow said yesterday that there are still 18,000 people in hospital in a serious condition. So still very high numbers of people hospitalized. However, we do understand that that's around half of the hospital bed capacity, and that the number of hospitalizations is in fact falling. And we have seen in the numbers today that the percentage of new coronavirus cases in Russia that Moscow accounts for is slowly dropping. But that create some serious concerns about the picture elsewhere in Russia, where the cases are rising and hospitals are far less equipped to cope. They have more out-of-date technology and equipment, and there have been shortages of personal protective equipment, and we've been hearing a number of hospitals around the country appealing for help from the government.
There's also a disparity of numbers issue in Russia. Apparently, numbers given from Russia's southern Republic of Dagestan very different to the official toll. How's that being reconciled, and is that having a political impact on Vladimir Putin?
There have been some accusations that Russia has been underreporting the overall number of cases, although now that Russia is has the second highest number of cases overall in the world, those accusations have more or less fallen away. But as you say, the death toll has still got some big questions over that. There are questions about the way that Russia is recording deaths from coronavirus. Many people are being recorded as dying with coronavirus not being the main cause of death, but they still had been diagnosed with the virus. But this is certainly playing into difficulties in terms of government perception, and President Vladimir Putin has seen falling trust and approval ratings. Indeed, one poll has put his approval ratings at the lowest level ever, and that is partly also because he has been delegating a lot of the handling of the coronavirus outbreak to the Prime Minister, to regional governors. And also there are accusations from a number of individuals and businesses here in Russia who say that the economic support over the last 2 months, where most of the country has been under lockdown, simply isn't going far enough.
Well, let's move into the economic issue now, and heading back to you, Ollie, in London, and some sad news. Royce is the latest to announce job cuts. Tell me more.
Yeah, that's right. Rolls-Royce, the engine maker which supplies engines to the aviation industry, notably to Airbus and Boeing planes, it says it's a simple reality that it just has to make this move at this time. It says it's not a crisis of the company's own making, but it wants to be realistic about the future of the aviation sector, which it supplies those engines to. But it's not just about selling engines to airlines and the aviation sector. It also gets a maintenance fee for those engines that are in use by the airlines. So the complete lockdown, or the close to complete lockdown of the aviation sector worldwide, has really hit Rolls-Royce hard. 9,000 jobs are going to be going. The vast majority of them are going to be going here in the UK, particularly at its factory in Derby in England. So, you know, just the latest company in the aviation sector which is having to react to the times that it finds itself in.
Well, at least the football's coming back, or is it, Ollie? We see there's a plan for the Premier League to get going again in June, but we've heard of 6 new cases from 3 top clubs just testing positive, some of the players. How will training get underway? How will they really get this going again under these circumstances?
It's going to be very difficult indeed. Training is now underway. The top Premier League clubs are back in training, but with limited numbers of players at one time and all socially distancing from each other. They're not going in for tackles or fighting at corners in training, any kind of contact at all. They are maintaining a large distance from one another, just trying to get some fitness back at this stage out on the grass. But really difficult because not all players are going back. Watford is one of the clubs, for example, in the Premier League that has reported a positive case in recent days. Watford is also the club from whom the captain, Troy Deeney, is saying he's not going back to training yet. He's worried about the health and safety of his family. He is a black player. He has pointed to the evidence here in Britain that shows that black people are much more likely to die of COVID-19 if they're infected than people from other ethnic backgrounds. And so he's very concerned about that. So not everyone's back in training. You also have a limited period of time to get players up to contact training, which hasn't even started yet, before that middle of June date. So I think there is an expectation that that target of the middle of June might slip a little bit, but certainly many Premier League players, despite the concerns, are keen to get back, playing again. And Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, has said repeatedly that he does believe that if the Premier League can get back up and running, he thinks it would be a significant boost to national morale.
Yes, indeed it will. Thank you very much. That is Ollie Barrett in London. Thanks as well to Julia Chapman coming to us live from Moscow this evening. Thanks to both of you for those updates.